Tszyu. Well, the rising star of Australian boxing, Tszyu, is sitting right beside me. G'day, Tim. Great to see you in the house, and thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Where are you at the moment as far as training between the last time we saw you in action? You're up against Bo and Morgan with a first-round knockout at Bankwest Stadium. Very clinical on that night. And, of course, you've got a fight coming up in 7 weeks against Dennis Hogan, who's been based in Queensland but Irish initially. You've taken on a fair bit here. He's a handy opponent.
Yeah, well, you know, I don't want easy fights. I'm at that stage in my career right now is that I want to be tested. I want to be fighting the best, and at the moment, Hogan's the next victim.
Where do you think he'll test you? You say you want to be tested. Where do you think Dennis Hogan will test you?
I think in terms of his experience on the big stage,
yeah.
The 2 big fights that he's had overseas against Charlo and Mando. But in terms of skill and everything that he's got to offer, I'm not worried at all.
Yeah. But he does have a pretty good record. He's lost those 2 big fights you spoke of, but one of them was...
We are here live, 4:35 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday, February the 15th, 2021. I'm TstreeT Controversy with my colleague Big J on the line, and let me forewarn you right here. All right, Big J, I'm going to let you take it away. Explain, before I let this announcer, can you explain who he is and who he works for and what he does?
Okay, so the gentleman to the right of Tszyu, his name is Paul Kent. I believe he works for the Australian. He's got multiple jobs. He works for the Australian. He's a sports commentator, but his forte is rugby league. He's not traditionally a boxing prowess. Like, he's not a boxing expert. He's more NRL. Like, he appears on the show NRL 360, and he's like a part-time boxing commentator, full-time NRL journalist. That's his bread and butter.
So,
he dabbles in boxing every now and then. So yeah, but he's a footy commentator. He's a footy journalist.
So for those
who traditionally a boxing.
So for those who might get a little triggered for what he's about to say, cut the man a little slack. So I stopped it right there for a reason. I'm going to rewind it back a little bit, and let's listen. We're going to go from here. We're going to be talking about Patrick Tszyu losing to Castaño. Castaño likely fighting Jermell Charlo for undisputed. Where, when, how? We'll talk about that. And Tszyu versus Dennis Hogan, March the 31st, 2021. And if Tszyu himself can even beat a Dennis Hogan. I'm on the fence, but we're going to talk about it. Let's get through this first.
So controversial that they're now looking to, well, I think, where do you think he'll test you? You say you want to be tested. Where do you think Dennis Hogan will test you?
I think in terms of his experience on the big stage,
yeah.
The 2 big fights that he's had overseas against Charlo and Mando. But in terms of skill and everything that he's got to offer, I'm not worried at all.
Yeah. But he does have a pretty good record. He's lost those 2 big fights you spoke of, but one of them was so controversial that they're now looking to, well, I think they've ordered a rematch to try and get it moving along again. And they looked at, I think, they protested the decision. So he by rights, he should be a world champion right now.
Yeah, well, you know, it's out of my control.
Yeah.
Not much I can do.
Yeah, but it's certainly another step up for you. And I think from everybody who's watched you come through from your first fights, we're all amazed, I think is probably the word, about how quickly you're progressing through, because
I guess that's a good place to start. Now, first, we're going to start here. This weekend, former WBO email champion, meaning that he beat Carlos Adames, Patrick Tszyu, now 31-2 with 22 KOs. The Brazilian, 30 years old, he was defeated by the Argentine Brian Carlos Castaño to lose basically 120-108. And being generous, I was a 119-109. I'm going to put the link to my post-fight video, live, uncut reaction down below in the description box. So this Brian Castaño won the WBO interim title when Jaime Munguia was champion, when Dennis Hogan should have been champion. So follow the storyline here, not to confuse you. He won the interim title.
You mean Patrick Tszyu, not Brian Castaño?
Yeah, excuse me. Patrick Tszyu won the interim title from a Carlos, interim title defeating a Carlos Adames in the fight that many felt he wasn't going to win. going into the fight. I believe I covered that fight. Then his first title defense after he was elevated, meaning a vacant title was given to him because he was number 1 in the rankings. After he was elevated, he loses his first defense. And I'm going to say this, tough fighter, but literally it's like he made all the email champions look bad out there, and is the reason why email champions are email champions. You know, no disrespect to Devin Haney or whatever the case may be, but a guy like Tszyu, how was he a world champion? We don't know. So the implications was, and I'm going to pull up this tweet here from a good friend of ours, Ben Damon, over at Fox over in Australia. Brazilian practice Teixeira is about to defend his WBO super welterweight belt against Argentine Castaño. Teixeira is a big underdog, but if he wins, he is expected to fight Tszyu next if Tszyu can beat Dennis Hogan. So we've been, for the new viewers, we've got a lot of new subscribers over the weekend. For the new viewers, my colleague Big J from Australia is going to explain that. So what was supposed to happen? Let's go back to if the fight day, what we were talking about, Big J. What was the rumors of what was going to happen for Castaño and Teixeira, depending on who won?
Well, if Teixeira won, there might possibly could have been talks because No Limit Boxing reached out to Golden Boy. No Limit Boxing, Matty Rose is Tszyu's promoter. Right? They reached out to Golden Boy last year, I think. Would have been sometime between the Horn Tszyu fight and the Tszyu Morgan fight to see if they could possibly get Teixeira over to Australia to fight Tszyu, as he's the number 2 contender, as there are all sorts of problems as anyone who followed the Castaño Teixeira fight because they couldn't get out of the countries due to the pandemic, the COVID pandemic. Thankfully, the WBO squashed that, made Teixeira and Castaño fight. The fight happened, and as predicted, Castaño beat the living daylights out of poor Teixeira. So, but as a other option, third option, No Limit made contact with Golden Boy and tried to make some sort of deal. I don't know the intricate dealings of what took place. All I know is that talks were made, possibility to try to get Teixeira over to Australia to fight Tszyu. So obviously that's all turned to shit because Teixeira lost, but that was the plan. That Fox Sports told about, it was about 3 months ago, whenever they tried to get that done. So
now let me tell you the story of Brian Castaño here. 17-0-1 with 12 KOs. He has defeated Errol Spence and several. Let me pull up see if BoxRec has it. He has a very good amateur background. I don't think BoxRec has
200 fights, 200 something fights.
Yeah, 200 plus fights. I forgot what they said his defeats are, but he's seen a lot of people in the amateur. He is a pressure fighter. He threw, according to the box stats, CompuBox, if I'm correct, and I should have pulled the clip up. We might do a jump cut. In fact, this is what we're going to do. Take your time out. Please subscribe. This is TstreeT Controversy.
I think it was 1,136 punches.
Yeah, something like that. But I'm going to pull up the punch stats just in case. Give me a couple of seconds. We're going to take a little bit of a jump cut. Please like, subscribe. We're halfway through the video, and we have a lot more to talk about. Only takes a couple seconds. Take your time out and like the video.
And Castaño did what needed to be done. He told us his game plan, and he executed it to perfection.
Yeah, look at those punch numbers. Over 1,100 punches thrown.
So, I guess to wrap up with Castaño, extensive amateur career. A lot of people felt that he defeated Erislandy Lara. Looking back at it, I was cool with the draw against Erislandy Lara. He had already lost one of his titles. It was a WBA world title. Let me see, a WBA world title because of some, it was a purse bid, a contract wasn't sent back, whatever. He's a world champion now. So my thing is, if Castaño and Tszyu was to happen, and before we move on to to Tszyu versus Hogan, I want to say that looking at Teixeira, okay. How do you feel? Do you feel that from what we've seen from Tszyu that he would have somewhat of a chance against Teixeira? Now, Teixeira was hitting Castaño with some bombs when he did have his moments. He also threw 972 punches, landed 197. How do you feel about Teixeira and Tszyu if it were to happen from what you've seen so far, Big J?
It's a bit of it's a 50-50 thing because I believe that
I'm asking for a reason, but go ahead. I'm following you. I'm listening.
I believe that Tim could probably get past Teixeira, but Castaño would eat him for breakfast.
I feel.
I really think.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
I feel that Tim would be the same, but remember Tim likes to do things at range. Like Castaño, Teixeira is trying to do the same thing. He was trying to use his reach to his advantage and keep Castaño away from him. Didn't work, of course, because Castaño just beat the shit out of him. But Tim Tszyu is very the same. You watch all these fights, he keeps everything at distance. He doesn't get in close and personal. He doesn't like that. He keeps everything at distance. He's a very range-finding fighter. He likes to, once he finds his distance, he keeps people off him. He's very smart that way. With doing some of that with someone that's got a longer reach to him, if someone does that to him, I don't think Tim Tszyu would falter. So anyone that's got a longer reach and knows how to use it against Tim Tszyu, I don't think he's going to have a very good night. A pressure fighter like Castaño, I think it's just going to walk up to him. He's not going to stand in front of him, but he's just going to keep up and just bang, 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 bang. So I think a pressure fighter, like a real pressure fighter like Castaño, give Tim Tszyu a really bad night.
I think.
But that's all hypothetical.
My theory is, I don't see Tim Tszyu getting Jermell, Charlo, or Castano.
Oh God, no.
But I do see possible that depending, we could possibly see Tim Tszyu versus Teixeira if Teixeira gets another win under his belt and another possible eliminator. We still could see Tim Tszyu versus Teixeira.
Possibly. But let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, we're going there though. I know we're going there, but we got to talk about Charlo first. So now that Castaño is the champion, now pull this up for a reason. The Premier Boxing Champions website. We're going to go over to their fighters. Now, from my understanding, Brian Castaño is a Samson Lukovic fighter who is heavily aligned with PBC and Al Heyman. If you look here, Brian Castaño is listed on the PBC. Now, there's a lot of fighters that are listed on the PBC site that are not actual fighters with PBC right now. But the point I'm trying to make is it is very, very likely that Castaño is going to be facing Jermell Charlo for the WBC, WBA Super, IBF, and Castaño's WBO 154-pound title. The winner will be the first ever undisputed champion of the four-belt era for the PBC. There's a lot riding on this fight. And for future 147-pounders and current 154-pounders in the PBC stable, PBC now has all of the belts at 154 pounds. It's a big deal. Now, Terrence Crawford, if he wants to move to 154, he'll be made automatically mandatory. But I just wanted to close that out. And as soon as we get some details, anything on Jermell Charlo versus Brian Castaño, we're definitely going to be here to talk about it. And I'm thinking that the fight's going to happen no later than July. And we don't know anything in regards to if Teixeira and Tszyu, there was rumors of them having some type of backdoor deal or, discussion or, well, if you do this, then we'll possibly do this. We don't know. As I've explained to you, the managerial, if I'm true, I'm pretty sure he's a Samson fighter. We don't know what the deal is or what was going on with Castaño and Charlo and Al Heyman and PBC also. Like, basically, we don't know if they had a plan in place. Like, all right, well, Jermell Charlo, he's going to wait for this winter, and we're going to try to get a date in, June, July, August. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. But now, to get back to the fight we're here to talk about, today, my time.
Quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
When did Crawford go to PBC?
He's not PBC, but the fact that he's the WBO 147-pound champion, if he moves up to 154, he'll be made the mandatory, so therefore it'll have to be a purse bid.
Yeah, I see. Okay, so he's still with Top Rank. Okay.
Yeah, he's still.
The other day, I'm like, when did he go to PBC?
No. He's right. He's not with PBC, but he can force a purse bid situation. So now,
I understand. All right. Yeah.
So in my time, right now it's 4:53 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday, February 15th, 2021. At 6 p.m. Eastern. And my understanding, 10 a.m. in your time. Can you explain the details of what's going on with the Tszyu versus Dennis Hogan press conference, which is taking place tomorrow?
Well, Ben Damon from Foxtel Main Event put out a tweet a couple of hours ago that a press conference, and Tszyu put something up on his Facebook page that the press conference for the official announcement for the fight will be on Foxtel's Facebook page at 10 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Daylight Savings Time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it's almost 9 o'clock here now. So what's that, buddy? 13 hours from now, something like that.
Yep,
so,
about. Yeah.
I've got it here in front of me. Tszyu Hogan press conference tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Daylight Savings Time, line on Main Event TV, Facebook page, and on Fox Sports News. Well, there you go, straight from the horse's mouth.
Now, from the things that I've seen, I don't see Dennis Hogan. I don't see Tszyu defeating Dennis Hogan. You know, we don't know. This is a big step up.
I'm on the fence. I'm on the fence. I mean, the only thing that's working against Dennis is his age and his more so his inactivity period, more so than his age. His inactivity period, time out of the ring. So,
yeah, it'll be 14. It'll be pretty much 14 months by time, and he's coming off of two losses and a knockout.
Yep, and he hasn't fought at 154 in 2 years.
But looking at who Tszyu has fought, 17-0 with 13 KOs. You know, Bowen Morgan, as we talked about, he was ranked number 15 at 147, by the way. Tszyu is a 154-pounder. Bowen Morgan sparked out in one round. Jeff Horn, just go back and watch the build-up to that fight. I'm going to stick to my guns. Something was wrong. I think Jeff Horn was sick. And also Jeff Horn was, there's been too many through too many wars. And frankly, he's not the Jeff Horn that we knew that, he just wasn't the same Jeff Horn. I don't want to take anything away from Tszyu, but Jeff Horn just ran right at him.
And it wasn't the best Jeff Horn. There's no doubt about it. What Mick Zarafa did to him in those two fights, and Crawford really caught up with him. So, and that's just boxing. It catches up to all of them.
So the question is, it's going to be a big fight, because if Tszyu wins, he's beating what people feel should be a former world champion and a somewhat known name in the hardcore boxing circles of, American and international boxing, because Dennis Hogan has fought Jaime Munguia on the zone and was a heavily publicized fight. And he fought Jermell Charlo in the second leading cable subscription network, Showtime, here in the States. He lost to Jermell Charlo, the 160-pound WBC champion. So looking at it, if he wins, Tszyu, it is going to, give his name a big boost. Like, oh, he beat Dennis Hogan. Okay. And then if he beats Dennis Hogan and he doesn't get a title shot, because I don't see him being able to get a shot against Jermell Charlo or Brian Castaño. Let's say Brian Castaño wins, maybe. But I see Jermell Charlo possibly moving up. Maybe he might do one defense. I don't know, but I see him possibly moving up to 160. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with the same. I don't see Tszyu getting a title shot anytime soon.
Mm-hmm.
You've said it multiple times that Charlo will most likely beat Castaño and drop all the belts to go up to 160 when his brother pisses off up to 168. And Tim will most likely fight for a vacant title, possibly against most likely it'll probably be against Castaño. And if he does fight Castaño, based on what Castaño did Trex area, I think Tszyu's in for a bad night.
Because I don't see Castaño looking at it. It's hard to see Castaño moving up to 160. I don't really see it.
No, I don't see him beating Charlo either. I think Charlo will just gut punch him, and that'll be the end of him. So Charlo is just a beast in his own right. So
looking at let's go down 6 months down the line, and let's say all these two fights are over. Castaño, Charlo, and Tszyu, Hogan. Let's say Tszyu wins against Hogan, and Jermell Charlo wins against Castaño. Jermell Charlo moves up. Look who will be left in the top 5. Can you see from what we've seen? Tszyu beating Castaño, Liam Smith with his pressure fighting, could give, you know, Tim Tszyu, from what we've seen now, some issues. Jarrett Hurd is going to, these are pressure fighters. You know, Teixeira is going to be there, you know, probably.
I
Brock
think he could get over
Ramotzalia.
Teixeira.
Huh?
I think he can get over. I think he could get over Teixeira.
But
I
these are,
don't see him beating any of the other
yeah,
guys.
these are guys that would likely, he would be ordered to fight for the vacant title. So this Dennis Hogan fight means a lot.
Yeah.
We're going to find out a lot about him.
But he's got to get past Dennis Hogan first.
Mm-hmm.
And the general consensus in Australia and the media is that they're acting like he's already beaten him. Like, no, he hasn't.
Yeah, talking about
Tim
what's
said
next.
in the video, Tim Tszyu in the video said, "Oh, he's the next victim." Yeah, okay. No, he's your next opponent.
Yeah.
I mean, if this kid loses, he's in for a bad fall. I mean, what's that old saying? Twice the pride, double the fall.
Yeah. But no, he seemed humble to me. He hasn't really been, you know.
No.
I mean, he did say the victim thing, but he ain't really. But you know, he's got to say something to sell a little bit, I guess.
Obviously, but the general consensus, the way the media is acting, is like he's already won the fight. Like,
yeah, we're gonna find out. Because right now, he is now in the deep end. Because there's no more easy. The way it's looking, it's no easy fights now, here on out. You know, and he's going to have to.
Welterweights to fight.
Yeah.
So,
but it's no backing away now. He's a contender. There's no backing away now. He's a contender.
He's not going to back. There's no doubt that he will fight anyone they put in front of him. There's no doubt about that. He's not going to dodge anyone. He's not going to think. But yeah, there's no more easy opponents. And to his credit, I don't think he wants any more easy. He flat out said, he goes, "I don't want more easy opponents." So you know, he's obviously ready for that big stage, and so he should be. Yeah, but it's going to be a fantastic fight. But we're going to keep looking at that clip to see what more Paul Kent said, because he said something really unusual. Are we going to talk about that, or are we just going to leave it?
Yeah, no, I'll pull it up now. In fact, no, we can save that for later because we actually are short on some time right now.
Yeah, we'll talk about that another day. Tune in the next video.
Yeah, especially since they're going to be we're going to talk about in the press conference recap. So once again, we're going to be here. I know I'm going to be here. It's exactly 5 a.m. I'm going to be here in 13 hours or so. We're going to be live streaming the press conference, and then me and Big J either after or tomorrow around this time we'll do a recap of the press conference. Please take your time out, like the video, subscribe if you haven't. We are working to be your #1 source on YouTube for Australian boxing news. Big J, any shout outs, closing words, remarks?
My cat's fine, for all those who were worried about it in the last video.
He was pissed.
Yeah. Well, I didn't let her out, so apologies. But no, Tim Tszyu, Hogan, excellent fight. I really, I've been harping on this for how long now? A year since we did our first video.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if it wasn't for COVID, it probably would have happened a year ago. But yeah, I can't wait for it. And I'm working on getting an interview with Dennis Hogan, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, I honestly can't wait for this. This is going to be a real. If Tim Tszyu can get past Dennis Hogan, then he's really, he's going to be the real deal. So, but yeah, I'm on the fence. So.
All right. Well, this is TstreeT Controversy and Big J with FightView360.com. Please take your time out, like, subscribe, follow on Twitter at Old Mate Big J. Right? Just Old Mate Big J on Twitter. And Old Mate B. And TstreeT for life right here on the screen and down below in the description box. Please subscribe.